To say Hamilton had a rough childhood would be an understatement. Around 1755, possibly 1757, depending on where you get the date, there has been some confusion in the recent years, so I'm going to clarify we're using the 1755 date to ensure that all things are leveled and all correct. He had been born into the small town of Charlestown, Nevis, to Rachel Fawcett, a married woman who had recently fled from her abusive husband. Once she had done so, she met James A. Hamilton, in which she continued to have 2 children with. Well, until he had fled to spare her the charge of bigamy. Just gonna warn you now, Hamilton and his brother aren't gonna have exactly the best childhood. Once James had left Fawcett, she had moved to St. Croix with James Jr. and Hamilton in tow. Once she had done so, she settled down and started a small shop in Christiansted. Everything was just lovely for them. Until once again, Fawcett had contracted yellow fever, in which she had died in 1768, in which all her stuff was taken by her abusive husband, leaving both Hamilton homeless along with his brother and along with being orphaned. Yeah, some tough things to deal with at the age of 13. But it seems there's a light in the tunnel, seeing as a family friend of theirs had given and auctioned off books in which their mother had owned to Hamilton and James Jr. After they had gotten the books, they had been taken in by her cousin, in which shortly after he had committed suicide. Yeah, let's just say something has it out for Hamilton at this point in his life. But let's continue further on. At this point, James Jr. and Hamilton had been separated around this time. James Jr. had taken an apprenticeship with a local carpenter, while Hamilton had been given a house by a Nevis merchant, Thomas Stevens. During the time, Hamilton had been a trader, in which he continued on his interest in reading and began writing. He had begun wanting a life outside the island that he lived in. His talents in writing had shown through in his letter describing the events of a hurricane to his father. It had been seen by Hugh Knox, a journalist who had been published it in the Royal Danish American Gazette. Many people were impressed by the account of the hurricane. In fact, so impressed, community leaders had raised enough money for Hamilton to have an education in the American colonies. The rest is history. So what was the point in this all? What's the point of retelling a story that's been done over again and again? Well, that's the point. Hamilton had a history worth telling over and over again. It's an inspiring story of hardship and getting over it. And along with, if no matter where you come from, you can still make it in the world, having a history of yourself to say. Hamilton had started out his life fairly poorly, and with all he had faced, it's very inspiring to see that he had gotten through, and he had gotten to do something, getting out of the island that he wished to live out of, wished to have something more in his life, in which he had done so by using his talents to do. And in the end, Hamilton had a history. He had done so much in his lifetime, which is the reason why it's being told right now, why it's being told across the world, why it's being said again and again. Even when it's overplayed, even when it's been said over and over and again, people understand that it's an inspiring story, which is the reason why it's being told right now. And again,